the population of South Sudan, again, according to projection, will be 14,746,494. And 2024, the population of South Sudan will be 15,254,269. Now, there is one thing we need to bear in mind, that when we depend on population projection, the population projection deviates with the time. And that is why we require a census in order to get fresh data. Last year, 2021, we carried out a population estimation survey, some kind of micro census with the help of UNFPA. The results were analyzed and presented this year to the Vice President in charge of economic cluster, Dr. Wani Iga. It was approved. Right now, I understand it has been presented to the Minister of Finance so that it can be presented to the Council of Ministers, Your Excellency. So we are still waiting to present this population estimation survey to the Council of Ministers. Now, if it is presented to the Council of Ministers, depending on how they will see it, if they approve it, if they decide that this can be used for election, fine. But if the Council of Ministers say, no, we need to carry out a census, then we are ready to carry out a census because we need a minimum of 2 years in order to prepare for a census. So this is what we view, and we are looking forward to the Council of Ministers' recommendation. Now, we have challenges. When we carried out the population estimation survey, we use satellite imagery. The satellite imagery takes pictures from above, and we had 1,536 sample sites based on structures. Now, out of these sample sites, we divided them into densely populated and sparsely populated. So we sample out the areas supposed to be enumerated. Now, we physically visited those areas to check whether they are populated or depopulated. If the people are not there, then we replace it. Then later on, we physically send enumerators to go and enumerate the people who are there, those who are eligible to be enumerated. Now, we did that all over South Sudan. Now we have the challenges which we face. Or before I go to the challenges, I will give you some of the objectives of the population estimation survey. The idea of the population estimation survey was meant to generate reliable model population estimates on population density and basic demographic characteristics for all levels of administration. Generate indicators for monitoring and evaluation of programs prior to population and housing census, demographic and health survey, and demographic dividend study implementation in South Sudan. Strengthen the capacity of NBS in the use of computer-assisted personal interview, CAPI, applications and high-resolution satellite imagery, and how to analyze large data sets obtained from such surveys. Provide information to be used for development of advocacy materials for policy makers. Now, the expected benefits, contribution to government priorities. The up-to-date model population estimate will provide data and information that can be used for determining the census frame for the 2020 round of national census and other national surveys. National and sector planning for decision-making on provision of services. Monitoring the performance of national development strategy as well as sustainable development goals. Drafting policy briefs for policymakers. Reference points for research and dissemination. These are the objective and what is expected of the population estimation survey. Now, we had the following challenges when we carried out the population estimation survey. We had insufficient budget from government. I remember we had about $230,000 US, which the government was expected to contribute, but we didn't get any. The government and development partners led to the delay in the finalization of the population estimation process. In fact, the population estimation survey was supposed to be conducted towards the end of 2020. But unfortunately, because of the budget, it had to be extended up to 2021. Flooding, food insecurity, and local insecurity led to large displacement of population, posing challenges to obtaining more accurate estimates. During the population estimation survey data collection, some technical, logistical, security, boundary, and political hitches affected timely finalization of the survey. Your Excellency, this is my end of brief explanation. Maybe if you can give me another time, I want to add something a bit, Your Excellency, if you allow me.
Yes, and now you say you use satellite.
Satellite imagery.
You use satellite imagery.
Yes.
You also use the population of population census of 2010. Then what about 2008? Sorry, the population census of 2008. What about the referendum registry? Did you use it?
No, we didn't use the referendum registry, Your Excellency. When I was talking about the population projection was based on the housing census 2008 when we were still part of Sudan. And of course, the consultant did the projection up to 2020 Then from there, he took over from 2020 and projected to 2040, which kind of helped us a bit since we never had any census. But 2021,
Okay, I'm asking that because
yes,
the registration during the referendum,
yes,
some states overshot what was the population during census at the referendum, the registration.
yes.
How do you put that into consideration?
Your Excellency, we didn't put that. Maybe I will check if they had put. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Excellency. 1973, when I was in Uganda, I visited the Kampala City Council Library. I came across a book by title The Sudan March to Independence by somebody called Anderson. In that book, when I read, there was a circle just at the tip of the Elemi Triangle. And it was written there that this area was given by the British government to the Kenyan government to administer for a period of 50 years. And I think by the time when they drew that map, it was 2012 or 2014. So when you add 50 years there, that area was supposed to be handed back to the Sudan in 1962 or 64. So that is one. Two, I listened to the BBC documentary concerning the demarcation of Sudan border and Uganda border. The team started from Mount Gordon, Nimule, and marched eastward using donkeys and horses, marking the border using the features, rivers, and hills or mountains. When they reach at the tri-point, that is the border of Sudan, Uganda, and Kenya, they got tired. So they decided that the border should be straight. And that is why when you look at that section there, there is a straight line touching the lake, the shores of Lake Rudolph or Lake Turkana. So what I'm trying to say is, when we are drawing the map of South Sudan, let it be as original as possible, regardless of whatever claims other neighbors are saying, until when the problem is resolved amicably. Secondly, I am requesting the government, I don't know how much it requires, to construct a formidable dike to tame the water of the River Nile so that our people can practice ranch farming instead of roaming about with the cattle causing conflict. Then the water of the River Nile, the excess water of the River Nile, can be drained to drier areas of eastern Equatoria and Boma, where this water can help the animals there as well as the people there. Thank you, Your Excellency. These are my points.
Thank you for your contribution. Well, on the borders with Kenya, it is the straight line that we use. The limit triangle, Sudan has been paying money to Kenya for the administration of the limit triangle until 1975. I supported somebody who did a PhD on the limit triangle. Unfortunately, he's now a Northern Sudanese, but his book is there. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for giving me chance.
Okay. Well, oh, yes. Well, the national auditor is there before your announcement.
Your Excellency, First Vice President, Your Excellency, Vice President Abdel Baghe, honorable ministers, Your Excellencies, the governors, I think it is a great opportunity for me to speak to you today, and I think it is a great honor. First Vice President, please, I apologize for what happened on Saturday. I couldn't come, but I was not sick. There was no bad thing that was happening to me. It was a happy event because we were celebrating the graduation of a member of my family, my son, in fact. So it was really extremely difficult for me to be with you. But I was supposed to have sat here to speak about the PFM, Public Financial Management Reform. And I think that is what I'll talk about. But first, let me tell you one or two things about the National Audit Chamber. In South Sudan or in Sudan, the oversight institution, the independent oversight institution is called National Audit Chamber. Some countries give it different names. Mozambique calls it the Administrative Institute. Uganda calls it Office of the Auditor General, and so on. But all in all, globally, they are known as Supreme Audit Institutions. They're called Supreme Audit Institutions because they have the responsibility of oversight of all public sector finances from the top to the lowest level of government. That's why they're called Supreme Audit Institutions. Now, ours was derived from the Sudan National Audit Chamber. The Sudan National Audit Chamber Act was converted in 2006 into the Southern Sudan National Audit Chamber Act. And the institution was established by our late brother, Barnaba Majok, God rest his soul in peace. He established the National Audit Chamber structures. He procured a building. And that is why, even under the difficult financial conditions of the government, we have somewhere to work from, because the National Audit Chamber building that we have in that that place is called what? Cinema, was procured for us by the government. But the National Audit Chamber Act of 2006 was loaded. I think there was a misunderstanding by those who were forming the government at the time. Everything which is called a commission must have commissioners be around the chairman. And so the Auditor General at the time was given some 4 or 5 or 6 commissioners, and being a national audit office, being a supreme audit institution, this was out of the ordinary. And as a result, it could not work. By 2007, relationship between the National Audit Chamber and the Parliament and the executive was dysfunctional, so much so that the entire leadership was dissolved. And so the National Audit Chamber was left in the caretaker good hands of Abdon Agao here. But Abdon Agao is a very clever, smart person. He knew that auditing was not his best specialty. So the place was left, auditing activity never took place until the president brought me here in 2010. And so in 2011, at independence, I became the first Auditor General of the independent country of South Sudan, and the Audit Chamber Act was changed into the National Audit Chamber Act of South Sudan. But one problem that we faced there is that the independence that was supposed to be there was incomplete. there were very important elements of independence that were not included. One of them, independence in terms of financial resources that is required as a prerequisite for the success of a supreme audit institution. The other one is the question of human resources. An audit institution is brain intensive. And so if you don't have the independence to develop human resources, it is very, very difficult for you to operate, especially when you don't have financial resources. And that is why the personalities who negotiated the agreement in their clever wisdom spoke about a reform in the National Audit Chamber to increase its independence. That is not my language. That was the language of the agreement. And so we embarked on rewriting the agreement. I remember visiting the first vice president in 2016 when he was in the Jebel there with my draft of what I thought should be the best reforms of the National Audit Chamber at the time. Let us not go into the rest of the history about the audit of this country from 2012, 2013, 2014. I think we leave that for another day. As we speak now, the National Assembly has lots and lots and lots of audit reports that they have not been able to deliberate on. The press was saying that 3 months ago, I delivered 6,300 reports. Actually, there were 3,600 books, not reports. The reports themselves were maybe 10 or 20 or 30, something like that. So we have been working at the national level. At the state level, I must say this. Again, the history of our country has not been kind to us. We were not able to deal with the states at 2011, 2012, because we were too weak. But then everything that happened in this country that is very well known to you added to our inability to go to the states. However, while that was not possible, in the recent past, after the formation of the current government, the current parliament, and the current cabinet, things have improved a lot, significantly. Maybe not as much as we would like to, but there have been a lot of positive changes. So when the International Monetary Fund came with the $52 million for supporting our budget, half of it budget support to the Ministry of Finance, the other half to the Bank of South Sudan, to build our reserves, we were able to go to the states. We went to all the states to follow how that money was being spent. And I told the auditors that this is a good opportunity. When you go to the state to follow the 52 million of the IMF, also follow our other monetary expenses in the state. We seized the opportunity and took a ride on the IMF assignment that we had to do. I told the IMF that this money, I don't know where it comes from. As far as I'm concerned, this money belongs to the government of South Sudan. And our job as audit chamber by law, only audit resources that belong to the government, and we report not to the IMF, because we are blind, we don't know anybody called IMF. We report to the government of South Sudan. In the case of the Rapid Fund, we report to the Minister of Finance, copy to the Vice President, copy to the Speaker of Parliament, and our job is done. I think that we got good cooperation from the states with respect to the audit of the 52 million, and we had another audit of 174 million. We also went to the states to do that. And now we are preparing for another tranche of 122 million. We in the National Audit Chamber are proud that the international financial institutions are happy with our reports. And when they tell the Minister of Finance that your next money will come after the Auditor General's report has been published, we feel excited about that. But we do that because our government, our country has to receive that money, but we do it without compromising the quality of the output. The only compromise that we make is that we devote more human resources into the audit of this so that the country can get the next tranche of the resources that it requires. The state audits will be improved as we go along. But I have this before I forget. Your Excellencies, the governors, the audit work is good for you. It is a service that shows you where you are doing well, where you are not doing well. And we follow it up with recommendations about what should be done. I was telling my friends in the Bank of South Sudan that which one of you doesn't want the doctor to tell you where the disease is? Hands up. Nobody did. So our relationships with you, the governors, the state governments, the local governments, the national ministries, is not an adversarial relationship. It is a symbiotic relationship. The National Audit Chamber is a government institution. It works for the government and therefore for the people of South Sudan. And so when we request information, it is good so that your next cycle of activity, you will have a capacity to maximize the returns from the resources that are entrusted to you. So I am hoping that in the next years ahead, next year and the year after, we should be able to provide you more audit service. And I think I would like you to consider this. I'd like you to consider this. It might be a good idea. At the moment, the National Audit Chamber does not charge when we go to audit any government institution. We don't charge. The only institution that we charge was the Bank of South Sudan, but even then, we had an agreement with the president that, Your Excellency, I don't have the resources to audit the Bank of South Sudan. The Bank of South Sudan must be audited by reputable international institutions so that the report is acceptable globally. So to do that, can you allow me to ask the bank to pay this audit fee? And the president agreed, and that was the arrangement that we have. Otherwise, we don't. But I'm going to ask this House, I'm going to ask the vice presidents, I'm going to ask the government to let the governors have an audit budget in their respective states so that you can get the service in a timely manner. This, since you are wings of the government, you are not different from the national government. So since the national government is paying me for auditing them, why don't you pay us for auditing you? That is the request that I would wish Your Excellency could go into the decisions, because the budget that I have from the Ministry of Finance for auditing the national government programs may not be sufficient for me to reach your counties according to the Financial Management and Accountability Act. This is a request that I would like to put you today. The PFM, Public Financial Management thing, established a group called an Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee is established by the Minister of Finance, chaired by the Minister of Finance, and co-chaired by the most senior ambassador from the Troika Group. Strictly speaking, the Auditor General should not have been there. But the decision was made that they need the Auditor General in the Oversight Committee so as to guide on technical issues. So we are active members of the Oversight Committee. We have been able to do a lot of reforms, especially in the National Revenue Authority, and we have done some reforms also. We get reports from the sales of oil. We get reports about what is happening about the assistance fund that we pay the government of Sudan. So that information comes to us every 2 weeks. On Thursday, we are meeting again. We meet every 2 weeks. And I think we are making significant progress, Your Excellency, in terms of reforming the transparency in the revenue sector, or even we have a cash spending committee in the Ministry of Finance. But there are challenges as usual. There are some people who are very clever. We make the road that let us go this way, and then they find a shortcut to the same destination. So we need to working now on how we can block those loopholes. There's resistance to change, especially in the Department of Customs. We found the Department of Customs was overloaded with police generals. And when we want to put new regulations, we get resistance. But I think that the leadership of the country is cooperating with us, and we should be able, in the not too distant future, streamline the institutions of the National Revenue Authority. There are many of them. There is internal revenue like PIT, there is the customs, and there are others like these tariffs my brother was talking about. You talk about this civil aviation. We are going to visit you and agree on how we can pull together the resources of the country. I'd like to conclude. Sir? Yeah, I'm saying that we are going to visit him and find that out. But I'd like to conclude like this, Honorable Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, sir. My conclusion is this. I saw this road program that was presented to us this morning, a very comprehensive road program which cannot practically be done in 1 year. Even in terms of engineering, you cannot do that in 1 year. In terms of finances, you cannot do it in 1 year. Oh, okay. So as a result of that, I would have liked that program to be broken down into fiscal periods. 2022, 23, how many kilometers are you able to do? 2024, 25, how many kilometers would you do? And how is that built into the national budget so that we are realistic? One of the problems that we face is we make an announcement like this, and the citizens wait for 2-3 years, not because you don't want to do it, but because of the reality of the situation. And it can be very misleading, and it can cause discontent because of expectations. You cannot do all these roads this year, but the way it is presented to us, we are all going to be expecting these roads to be built next year. And as John Garangpur said, disappointment is a what? It's a factor of expectation. So I expect the road to Kejikeji this year, this year, this year. If you don't do it this year, I'll be angry with you. When actually you might have had a good reason. The audit was done. The findings were clarified. The offenders were listed. But don't get me wrong. When I say that $30,000 was paid to Yaba so-and-so, 1 million was paid to the office of the president, for example. That was what the audit report said. It does not mean that the office of the president or that Yaba who took 3,000 was an offender. What we said was that the money was given to a party who was not mentioned in the law as a beneficiary. What does it mean? Whatever Mariala needs 1 million. The president must travel, or there is something they have to do. And they go to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance, instead of looking for money to give the office of the president, they take the one of Roveng. That is my complaint. That is the audit finding. That is at first. It is not that the office of the president was wasting the money. No, the point is that that money was not meant for them. And I have one recommendation in respect to the 2% and 8%. Whatever allocation is made and whatever money is identified for this administrative area or the oil producing state, that account must be ring fenced. The problem that finance did was they opened an account in the name of Ruang administrative area, another account in the name of Unity State, another account in the name of Upper Nile State. They put money there, but they are the signatories to the same accounts. They are the signatories to those accounts. And so when they are under pressure from somewhere, they go and withdraw that money. That is what I mean by ring fencing. The signatories to those accounts must not be the authorities of the Ministry of Finance again. Then, if the administrative area, if the state doesn't establish a good structure for management, then we deal with them. Because fortunately, the Petroleum Act is very, very clear about the administration. The law is very clear. South Sudan doesn't have problems or absence or vacuum of financial management laws, by the way. Our administrator of Ruang sort this matter out. Let the signatories to those accounts be maybe the governor, the deputy speaker of the Council of State, and some other person. But certainly not the Minister of Finance. I thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Okay. Do we have questions or do we read our resolution? Have they had time to capture all, even what was said by the Auditor General? Okay, let me give three questions while the group, okay, wait. I think I should give it to him. He says he has a paper to present. His Excellency Vice President Hussein Abdul Bagi.
Can you allow us to stand up for 1 minute? Yeah, please get up. Yeah. Get up. Stretch out. Shake your arm. Come on, you people. Yalla. Yeah. Your arm, your leg. Kick it out. Your back. Your back. Sideways. Yeah, your sideways, your shoulder. The neck. Thank you very much.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين.
Have your seats. The Vice President is speaking.
First and foremost, I want to tell you I don't have presentation, but I have some remarks that I prepared for this forum, and I didn't get a chance to expel them out. And then, also after this remarks that I prepared for this forum, I would like also to comment on the issues which are discussed in this forum so that I can have my comments on them also. In the beginning, I will start His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, Your Excellency Dr. Riek Machar, Your Excellencies Vice President, national ministers, His Excellencies governors, all participants, good evening. Today is an important day for all of us. The government, the civil society, the peace grantors and monitors to reflect on the progress made and the challenges facing implementation of the agreement, of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. The emphasis is placed on the implementation of the roadmap. We should lead to the implementation, to the completion of the remaining provision of the RSS. First, and the importance of this remaining provision is the security arrangement in chapter 1, in chapter 2 of the RSS. On the security arrangement, the Artigono has made progress. And all of us, we know that we graduated 53,000 unified force were trained and graduated. Some of these forces had been deployed in a net to provide security and restore order therein after the latest intercommunal clashes between Twitch and NOC, communities over their net ownership. The government planned to deploy more forces to places like Numili Road, Upper Nile, Western Equatoria, wherever there is resistance to the rule of law around the country. The deployment will reduce intercommunal violence. And this is a very important part, and it is a responsibility of all. The cattle rustling and the revenge-related violence across the country are a source of rule of law and security. The second batch of unified forces will be soon taken to cantonment areas for training. It is imperative to underline the importance of the parties to surrender their guns, both medium and long-range weapons, to the revitalized government of national unity, to which we are partners in the implementation of the RSS. After training and graduation of phase 2 of the unified forces, the forces graduated will be deployed as well to both security and stability in the country. As per the peace agreement and in accordance to South Sudan Transitional Constitution, DDR exercise should be carried out when necessary to ensure peaceful disarmament of civilians. DDR activities will commence to collect all guns from civilian and stockpile them. While progressing is being made in the implementation, the remaining activities in accordance to the timetable of the roadmap, certain rights must be exercised in preparation for the election at the end of transitional period. In this regards, compliance with the Bill of Rights under the UN Charter and in South Sudan transitional constitution of 2011 as amended is of paramount importance. All other freedoms, freedom of movement is critical for free movement of people and goods in South Sudan. It is observed that despite unification of the armed and political command brought about by the peace agreement, some areas are not accessible for free movement and even political space. This one population, but the segregation is done for some people of South Sudan not to move in some areas. And this segregation is not acceptable. Everybody will enjoy rights of free movement, free speech, free association in accessible places where under some of leaders who are now the unity government of national unity, then I'm appealing to their constituents to stop this unfair act of segregation access of some areas to some people immediately, because they will undermine the progress we achieved seeing the signing of the RRCs. We reject any contrary authority to that of our Tigano in some areas. Instead, the unity government should be in charge of all parts of the government of the country. Dissemination of the RRCs is still incomplete. In fact, many places in the country still do not know fully the agreement signed in 2018 and the current roadmap. We should make effort to disseminate peace agreement of 2018 and the new roadmap up to the grassroots level. These are the issues that we should address to make sure that our peace agreement is going in the right direction. Because now it is very difficult. We used to talk about political space, and at the same time, in some areas, we are doing the same thing to others. So to make it clear for everybody, so that we can work together broadly, we have to address all issues of inaccessible places, the places which they don't get the political space, so that we can address them all. And if we are talking about the political space in some areas, and some areas we didn't do this thing on it, then it is not acceptable. And all of us, we should come in jointly to give all this right to the people. The year 2023 has been declared the year of education by the African Union following the decision reached at the Education Summit at the margin of 77 United General Assembly 2022. As per the annual budget 2021 to 2022, education budget has been raised to 17, yet our target is to raise it to 20% in the next budget in order to give education in the country the priority it deserves. As the same education summit in the New York this year, the World Bank has pledged 35 million supporting education in the country, especially in training of the teachers. And this year we are going to be hard to make sure that the teachers which are delivering services to the students are qualified, and we are going to train them broadly wherever they are in South Sudan. Also, education cannot wait. Program also pledged 35 million for improving access for education in South Sudan. Further, at the UN General Assembly, Global Partnership pledged 60 million, of which $10 million paid in advance for education as a support for flooding in the schools. And in this one also, we want you to go and collect, to give us the data, so that we can come in also to see how we can join hands to help on these issues with our partners. I seize this opportunity to remind honorable governors and chief administrators to take serious their responsibility in providing service to their respective states and administrators. The school premises are important center for teaching pupils and students in all states and administrative areas. It is therefore incumbent upon the governors and and administrators to protect the school from land grabbers and people turning them into business centers, as in the problem like that. And we have more than 4 schools now. They are taken to be business centers. So this one, we want this all to be removed so that we can leave it to a conducive environment for the students. And we give the directives from the Council of Ministers, from the cluster. Me, I went some state, I talked to the governors. They didn't implement anything, except the governor of Rumbek and the governor of Northern Barkazar. That are still states now, they didn't implement. They are still encouraging and they are still distributing the lands of the school to the public and to themselves. So we want this to be implemented. If not, on January or February, we are going to make sure that they are demolished and we will take care of those schools. Some of our governors were complaining. They are saying that we are entering to their roles that they play. But the problem, this is a general policy of the government of South Sudan. If you are not implementing it, who is going to implement it? At least we come from up so that we can make to assure you these are implemented. It is also incumbent upon the honorable governors and chief administrators to ensure that teachers' salaries are paid whenever they are dispatched to your respective states and administrative areas. Failure from the state's administrative authority to comply with the above obligation will leave the government of national with no choice but to hold those responsible accountable. And in our meeting with the president, when we met, there are things that we give directive. Up to now, there is nothing is implemented from this directive given by that summit. As policymaker, we are also tasked, among the others, to formulate union policy with which intended to address problems facing society, and we must do this in the right way. Public institutions, including universities, are expected to promote integrity and honesty when rendering their services to the public. Contrary to this noble cause, we have learned with the disappointment that learning institutions nationally and abroad are purportedly issuing fake certificates to their students. We also make an assessment, we give the guidance, but this thing is still been practicing. And we want all of us to take this responsibility so that we can address all these issues. Consequently, these students who are South Sudanese are employed in either by the government institution or private entities in the country. This is wrong As government, we will take measures to evaluate and screen whoever is practicing academic malpractice and whoever was employed using fake certificate, and we shall hold both the awarding institution and their beneficiaries accountable for this action. On these issues pertaining to the higher education, we would like to caution administration and the public university to involve the cluster which, when making important policies and decisions, which may have implication on the learning of their students. We are concerned with the public universities policies which may affect ability to continue their studies. The student ability to continue their studies. While we welcome the partial autonomy of public university to make their own suitable policies and decision, the university should consider feasibility, implementability, and affordability of such policies and decision by their students so that they do not deny them an opportunity to pursue their higher education. I'm therefore appealing to the administrations of public universities in the country, including University of Juba, to revisit their policies and decisions that affected the student ability to pursue their studies. On health, flood had increased health risks around the country, especially flood affected areas. Diseases such as malaria, which is a #1 killer disease in South Sudan, typhoid, cholera are all worsened by the water and dirt. I hate the leadership of Juba City Council and the governors of all states to coordinate and collaborate with the Minister of Environment, Minister of Health, to clean Juba City and the rest of the headquarters of the cities to find better diseases, malaria, cholera, and others. The state government should encourage their town mayor to keep the partnership with states, health authorities, and international health partners. As government, we will look together to push for health budget increment in the implementation in supplementary budget in order to address drugs shortage in the states and in the most part of our country, because the health fund and our partners, they cut their support, and this become a serious matter, and we are going to make sure that we push the supplementary budget such that we can address the issues of basic needs of our people. I appeal to the health international organizations such as the WHO to assist with the provision of basic human medicine to fulfill the gap of drugs shortage in the country. I would like to advise the honorable governors and chief administrator to resolve forthwith the cause of the social problem, which may lead to the health issues in young people. For example, drinking of alcohol by children under age of 18 lead to many social problems and such as displacement and productivity of these children. Many of them leave their homes to live in the market places where the alcohol are sold. And this has become a very big issue, especially in Juba here. Whenever you wake up in the morning, you will get a small child died in front of the shop. What is the problem? Is the drinking of wine. They're using wine, and this should be regulated such that the owners of the shops and others should come in also to, to protect our kids. And if we got them giving our kids the wine in that age, they should be held accountable. And this is important. You have to take it seriously because it is a very big crime and it is a very big problem to all our people in South Sudan. Further, may I remind the Honorable Governors and Chief Administration to adhere to the preventive measures of COVID-19 pandemic, although the number of infection cases had dropped significantly in the country. I urge the honorable governors of Central Equatoria, Eastern Equatoria, and all the governors in the borders areas to take extra preventive precautionary measures against Ebola pandemic, in addition to the efforts being made by the national government. Also, we knew that in the border of Congo to Central Africa, and some are coming from Sudan. There are people who there are there are cases which come up in some area in the borders, and we want you to make sure that these borders you have to put the precautionary measures such that we cannot have a problem of Ebola to come in. All we are all aware of the fact of the salaries of the civil servant do not match the market because it is not enough to address. The government has proposed new salary structure for the civil servant, which is soon going to be tabled at the Council of Ministers and will be considered in the supplementary budget as well. The report on the headcount of the civil servant, which was carried out by the Minister of Public Service, will be soon implemented. We have more than 5 years now or 7 years since they carry out this report. We have to implement. This is the time for us to implement it, so that we can have a chance for our youngers to be recruited. Before the conclusion, I would like to inform the summit that the Labor Act is currently being tabled at the Council of Ministers, and it should be passed without amendment or amendment. I'm confident that after the necessary processes, it will come into a law. It is important to mention this because it will safeguard the employees' rights and protect government's interests. As we wait for this law, I urge the honorable, the excellencies governors and chief administrator to protect employees' rights, including of those working with the international NGOs. Because of the importance of this role played by relief workers in their various humanitarian services, I must emphasize that the state governments and the area and the administrators areas must protect relief workers during their work and after so long they are in, after so long as they are in South Sudan. They should be protected because this is one of the important things which are raised up by NGOs always, that the relief workers are killed. So we want you to come in also to protect them. Finally, I wish to reiterate the importance of working collegially as a unity government so that we can deliver services to our needy population across the nation. Whenever there are differences, let us use the dialogue to enhance understanding and teamwork. Again, I hope that by the end of this forum, we will reach actionable resolution that will assist us to better implement the remaining provision of the roadmap and to be ready for the phase after the end of transitional period. Before I'm going to leave the podium, I have to also emphasize and comment on what I heard in discussion and deliberation happened these days. One of the things I want to talk about is the roadmap. I was very optimistic when we extend the roadmap because we were serious. And I assume that this is our own, we are going to implement it. But unfortunately, after I sit here and I was hearing people talking, I was not anymore optimistic because it is the beginning of the failure of the roadmap. The way people were talking, especially the parties, when they were talking here on this row in the panel, discouraged me. And this thing, we need to take full responsibility of roadmap because roadmap is ours. We are not forced by anybody to extend it. It is our choice, although the international community were against it. And to implement it, we want all of us to carry this cross. And to carry this cross, we have 5 things that we have to work on them seriously. One of them is a political will. Political will should be demonstrated by everybody, not the president of the republic alone, and not Z or Y. It is our own responsibility to do that. If not, let us now know that in the end of 24 or 27 months coming, we are not going to achieve anything in implementation of the roadmap. Because we don't want to make it as a tactic of playing politics. It is the life of our people, and this peace is coming to rescue our people. And so that we have to make sure that we are having political will together. I met the group of America in the State Department. They were telling us that you are not going to implement the roadmap. I was furious, and the rest of the members which are with me were furious why they tell us this one. And the roadmap is ours. They told me simply that all of you are not talking in one voice. And this one was confirmed when we were talking here. Second thing, they told us that everybody is playing his card. He's dragging his brother, another is dragging his brother. And also the discussion showed that. Third, they told us that whatever is happening in South Sudan, the violence across the country, which is there, the cattle raiding or everything is monitored in Juba by you, the leaders. I tell him this is not correct. Tell them like that with my team. But I confirm this is happening. When are we going to leave all this? We have to, starting from the governors, from whoever here and whoever listening, to start now to make sure that we are demonstrating political will to work together to implement peace for our people. It is important also, we have to put the violence, which is scattering all over the state, we have to put it to an end. If you are taking part of this one, I want to tell everybody also, you have to come back. You have to stop on that line, come back, and let us see the solution of it, so that we can solve these problems. And it is a responsibility of everybody. Governors, national ministers, the principle to the agreement, this is our role. We have to play it without playing tactics or politics. We have to make it to assure everybody that we are going to stop this violence of the communal which are happening, and we are taking part of it. Now, there is a war going on in Chiluk places. There are those who are there involved. I want them to stop that. and let us go back to implement this agreement. We have a problem of humanitarians. Some part are ours and others are not for us. For those who are not for us, let us ask those who are responsible with to deal with them. We have two problems in this humanitarian access. Some of them, they are giving wrong information against the government. And some of them have rights. From our side as government, we have to make sure that we have to protect the humanitarian workers. We have to give them the access they want. And we have to make sure that the humanitarian access are given to them. And we have to conduct a conference to coordinate and to see the access of protection to humanitarian assistance and others. And we are going also to make sure that we are taking responsibility of our people. And for this, we are working. There is action taken. I recently, you know, what happened in the leadership of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. It was taken because we want to make sure that on this way, we have to address all the issues such that we and the partners and the NGOs who work together with some of what they have. Sometimes they give wrong information, and we have to be clear among we are there to make sure that everything is going on. This is the responsibility of all of us. We know there are criminals which are trying to create problems on the routes. Like this problem of land grabbers is one of the crime also. Like this, those others, without regulating them. But also, we have to dialogue, because the issues of the issues of criminals and those who are committing crime, they should be accountable, and it is a responsibility of all of us, starting from the lowest level of the government until the national government. Let's work together to address these issues. And let us take the action. It is not a simple thing that we can address today and tomorrow. It is a long process. We may have 50 years on, but let us start working on it. To make sure that we implement this agreement, we have to make resources available. And this is one of the things. According to the deliberation that we had, most of the people here were talking about resources. If we don't have resources, are we going to implement the roadmap? Of course not. Let us see the means how we can implement. We can fund this road, the funding of the roadmap. Disarmament exercise is important. If not, who will accept the result of who in the election? We have to make it now. Say that tomorrow you should not go and mobilize your militias or your parents, telling them that this result is not true, and then we fight again. So disarmament is important, and let us start by dialoguing with our people in the states. Let us talk to them. Let us ask them to do that. Although we are doing another parallel process of how to tackle this issue. Before to conclude also, the problem of Juba city, there are problem arising of land grabbing. Ya Jama, in 2006, أنا كنت وزير في الولاية. أنا جيت وطلبت مشيت الكويزين زول اللي كان مدير بتاع الأراضي، أنا مزوج بنته البكر. مشيت له قلت له ده انا داير قدمنا طلب قلت له موزي انا داير قطع بتاع راب عشان نبنيه نسكن فوقه مع مرة بتاعي مرة بتاعه ده بيته اتخيل قال لي عندك خيارين قال لي انت يا ترحل في بيتي تجي تسكن معي او ترجع ولايتك ده مشكلة طيب ليه نحن علنا ان جوبا يكون اسم بتاع الناس كله اذا كان انك ده تجي بالتي حسن ده تسكن ويرفضوا لك ما جينا ببروسيس وبعدك حصل اشكال ما في طلب قدموها من اي جهه including دكتوريا كان وزير بتاع اللاس هو قاعد يشهد كلام ده ناس كتار جدا رفضوا لهم وده نتج الجرابينج اللي حاصل وبقى شغل بتاع الاخرين ناس ثانيين خلاص استخدموه بقى شغلهم بقى يمشي to grab and sell it to those who want to دايرين يعمل فتوى على القطع اللي جوه بمشي بيشيل الورق ما موثق ذاته بيقول انا اشتريته من زول يوريك له شيء عشان نعالج الكلام ده يا جماعه دايرين الوالي بتاع جوبا وبنشكر اخونا عادل لانه حسب بدا يحل بعض المشاكل دايرين الكوميونتي بتاع جوبا يعرف انه نحن جينا مع مواطنين بتاع جنوب السودان لازم نحن نعالج مشكله بتاع سكن ونحن كلنا نقوم نشاكل الناس اللي بيمشوا بيشيلوا اراضي بتاع جوبا بدون وجه الحق. These are crimes. لكن في مشكله والمشكله دي لازم تعالج وعشان يتعالج يا سيد نايب دايرين في ريكومنديشن لازم يكون في مؤتمر بتاع انه يعالج عشان يكون في نوعيه من الدايلوج ونحن نقوم نشوف المشاكل وين المشاكل دي نحن نشاغله ولا حقيقه نحن نعالجه ده لو عملناه بكون كويس. المشكله بتاعت البقر بتجي فيها نوع من 5 حاجات برضو لازم نعالجها فيه. الناس جو من جنجولي جو لجوبا عنده مشاكل امنيه في مشاكل بتاعت فلات لكن برضو ما بيعني لو انت جيت من هناك انت داير تجي بقوه بعضلاتك داير تشيل حاجات ناس ده ما صح. انت تعال امشي للسلطان قول له يا اخي وريني المرعى الفاضي ما فوقه مشاكل عشان نودي فيه بقري. ونحن قاعدين نعمله في نادم بارغزال وقاعدين نعمله لمسيريه ما جزء من جنوب السودان ويرجوليت قدام اي مسيريه لما يجوا بنقول لهم واحد ما دايرين سلاح يشيلوا وانتوا شفتوه في تقرير امبارح شفتوه امبارح ما في سلاح وجابوا صور ما في سلاح جماعه. طيب ما تعملوا للناس جنقول دي قولوا لهم يا اخي ما دايرين السلاح اثنين اي زول خشب الزرع بتاع زول بيتحاسب كده if not ده زول ما داير عداله معناه هو يتحكم على ضرر هو عمله. برضه في ناس دايرين يعملوا مشاكل الحكومه خشوا فوقه برضه زي المشاكل اللي حصل في دار بتاع في دار لولوبو والناس على الناس ده قبل كم يوم في ناس قتلوهم في القرى قتلوهم وقالوا دي ناس بقر قتلوهم وفعلا لو دي ناس بقر ليه تقتلوا ناس انتوا جايبين بقر زول البريه اللي قال لك يا اخي ما تعرف الزراعي تقتلوا بمعنى في حاجه ما كليه. برضه دايرين في الوصايا ده القصه ده يشوفوا يا الدكتور يا سيد نائب الرئيس في recommendation we have to address these issues of insecurity around Juba city. مشاكل بتاعت الريبوس او المنطقه برضه بيجوا يخلقوا فتنه برضه بين الناس وده حاجات برضه لازم يضعوا لهم حد. نحن دايرين يا جماعه بلد حقنا وعشان يكون بلد حقنا ندير من الولاة حكومة القاعد هناك ده حقق جدا فوقه زيت وبيت وشول وشان من عذاب مختلف للناس حاجة دايرين منكم يشتغلوا مع الناس ديل زول ما داير يشتغل وعنده شغل غلط داير يعمله عشان يخليك ما تنفذ المفروض تنفذه اللي قال وري جهة جابه عشان يغيروا لك. And we are ready to do that. And we have to cooperate on this issue. لأن ما دايرين مشاكل في الولايات. كل يوم نسمع في ناس يعني ما حصل دخلوا أحزاب وضربوا أحزاب كيف يديروا دولة. مش واسف في الولايات خالقين المشاكل. وبعدها بدي ريبورت غلط برضو للبرنسبل بتاعهم انه والي فلان ده قاعد يسوي له وقاعد يعلن لي ده برضو داير حل برضو في ولا برضو في هتات كده هم ما دايرين ناس ما ناسهم عشان يشتغلوا معهم فيهم برضو يعالجوا انتوا عالجوا الكلام ده نحن دايرين نملك من هنا ودايرين نسمع بطريقه بتاع منافسه لما المسؤولين من المركز يمشوا يجي يشكروكم زي ما شكروا اخوتنا بتاع غربار غزال شكروها قبيل عشان هي استقبل الناس وشافوا هو بلده فيها بيسفول وكده دايرين يكون منافسه عشان لو الناس مشوا ونحن دايرين نمشي للتفتيش بالمناسبه نشوف اداء بتاع الناس والاحزاب هناك ليه قاعدين يشكوا مع الاحزاب يشكوا فيه دايرين الولاة يشتغلوا مع الناس هم ديل نحن في المركز شغالين كانسل اوف مينستر لما تجي خش ما بتعرف ده منو ده منو سو دايرين الكلام ده تنقلوه وما دايرين شكوى تاني في الفتره الجايه ده يتو حكومه تنفذ الاتفاقيه بعدك لما نجي انتخابات بيجي وقتهم المشاكل بتاعه انتخابات وين هسه ناس هسه قاموا بكومبين عشان انت تسال شنو هسه وسلام ذات ما صابه لسه ماشيه برجل واحد عشان كده نحن دايرين شغل مع بعض كابناء جنوب السودان وكناس دايرين يودوا بلدنا لقدام دايرين يا جماعه جسمنا ده خارج بلد الناس يشوفوه مختلف من هذا اللي قدام وشكرا لكم.
Thank you very much. Now I think we go to our secretariat to lead us through the recommendations. Who is a good reader? Huh? I'm saying who is a good reader?
Professor Nelson Levin is the head team. We will go ahead with the reading. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. So I read the resolutions and the recommendations. Preamble. We, the participants of the 6th Governors Forum, namely governors of the 10 states and chief administrators of the 3 administrative areas and other delegates to the forum hosted in Juba City from the 22nd to the 29th of November 2022. Under the chairmanship of His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit and co-chaired by His Excellency First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar Teng, intensively deliberated on wide-ranging issues under the theme accelerating the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement in accordance with the Roadmap 2022. Applauding His Excellency General Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, for his continued commitment to the implementation of the ARA axis through the Roadmap 2022 so as to maintain sustainable peace throughout our dear homeland. Appreciating His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar Teny, first Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan, for effectively chairing the meetings of the Governors Forum in order to reach the aims and goals. Congratulating the other parties to the ARA access for unanimously agreeing to the Roadmap 2022, which provides the parties with 20-month extension within which to complete implementation of outstanding tasks in the ARA axis. Expressing gratitude to Honorable Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin, Minister of Presidential Affairs, for supervising and guiding the Governors Forum. Thanking the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, Directorate of Decentralization Intergovernmental Relations, with partners UNDP and ADMIS for their financial, logistical, and technical support to the process of hosting this forum, as well as other partners that provided support. And committing ourselves to continue to work for durable peace and sustainable development in our country. Adopt the following resolutions and recommendations. Resolutions on governance. Oh, sorry, it's the back. So these are the resolutions. The first theme is peace and security. One, a firm commitment of the states and administrative areas to implementation of the ARA axis through the Roadmap 2022. Two, urge the government to lobby the UN and global powers, especially the Troika, to lift the arms embargo imposed on South Sudan so that weapons are secured for the unified forces. Three, supply training centers for unified forces with adequate food rations, clean water, medicines, and other necessities. Four, pay security forces adequate salaries and incentives to reduce corruption and abuses against civilians, as well as environmental degradation through rampant cutting of trees. Five, clarify roles and responsibilities of security forces. Six, implement peaceful, comprehensive disarmament across the country and destroy collected weapons stockpiles to ensure that civilians have no access to the stockpiles again. Seven, organize and deploy the unified necessary forces to the states in order to help in comprehensive disarmament. Eight, monitor and control inflow of small and light weapons across South Sudan's porous international borders. Nine, conduct trauma healing and psychosocial support training, including training of Payam, bombers, cattle, and cattle camps communities. 10, repatriate and reintegrate refugees, internally displaced persons into their original home areas. 11, empower traditional authorities as agents of change in communities. 12, continue to hold peace dialogues to end communal violence, including cattle rustling and conflicts between farmers and cattle keepers. 13, encourage interstates, stroke administrative areas, and intercommunal peace conferences. 14, work for unity of South Sudanese people to build social cohesion. And 15, states and administrative areas leaderships should tolerate constructive criticisms and respect freedom of expression and opinion in accordance with relevant laws and regulations. The second theme is governance. 16, governance forum to be held not only in Juba, but in rotation among states and administrative areas. 17, amend all provisions of the laws that contradict the Constitution, including those dealing with powers of national and subnational governments to levy and collect taxes. 18, governments of states and administrative areas and communities should be given a share of tax collections at border posts along the international borders. 19, states and administrative areas governments to collect personal income tax of their employees as stipulated in the Constitution. 20, resolve and mitigate inter and intra-state or administrative areas conflicts over boundaries or resources. 21, create more countries to reduce local tensions. 22, empower lawmakers to exercise their oversight roles. 23, accelerate passing of bills into acts for government to operate effectively and efficiently. 24, require public institutions to operate in accordance to set laws. 25, implement annual audits of accounts of public institutions in accordance to relevant laws or good practices. 26, strengthen the justice system through training and empowerment of customary authorities. 27, consolidate intergovernmental relations through effective coordination and communication. 28, states and administrative areas are to form their own pension funds and schemes in accordance with relevant constitutional provisions. And finally, 29, promote sports across the country and hold tournaments also in states and administrative areas. Then we go to the theme of economics. 30, commit to mobilize more resources of finances through adoption of realistic tax regime. Okay, 31, stop imposing high taxes on small business, small scale enterprises to boost the economy. 32, data and records of investors in the country to be channeled to the National Ministry of Investment. 33, all states and administrative areas should allocate pieces of land for investments, including for industrial parks or areas, economic zones, etc. 34, all types of investment concessions are to be allocated by the national government. 35, designate a directorate at the states or administrative areas Ministry of Finance to coordinate with the State Affairs Directorate in the National Ministry of Investment. 36, facilitate upcoming investment opportunities mapping in states and administrative areas by the national government. 37, all investment concessions to be allocated by Ministry of Investment. 38, employ South Sudanese youth in all economic sectors instead of foreigners. 39, educate South Sudanese on business skills and provide seed funds to start businesses such as agro businesses, food processing, and value chain addition. 40, avail funds for microfinance to entrepreneurs so as to boost businesses. And 41, screen out ghost names from the payroll. The last theme under the resolution is basic services. Urge people to adhere to COVID-19 and Ebola preventive measures. 43, urge relevant government institutions to put in place measures to deal with possible spread of Ebola to South Sudan. 44, pay immediate attention to financing of prevalence of HIV/AIDS in the country. 45, adopt and enforce legislations, policies that prevent violence against people living with HIV and protect their right to access mental health services, education, and other basic services. 46, end stigma and discrimination against people living with HIV. 47, provide veterinary services, including drugs and information to livestock keepers across the country. 48, Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries to quickly address the death of livestock due to diseases. 49, recruit, develop, and appraise performance of civil servants based on merit. 50, pay teachers and health workers adequately to improve service delivery. 51, train teachers and health workers. 52, improve health service delivery across the country. 53, ban early and enforce marriages. And 54, promote sustainable environmental usage. Then the second part is recommendations. On the theme of peace and security, one, strongly urge and call upon the non-signatory South Sudan opposition group, NSSSOG, previously known as South Sudan Opposition Alliance, into bracket SSOM, to abide by the agreement signed under the auspices of the community of St. Egidio in Rome. These documents are 1A, Declaration of Principles between the Revitalized Government of National Unity, Aratigono, and South Sudan Opposition Movement Alliance on 12 October 2022. B, Rome Resolution of Monitoring and Verification, or COHA 2017. This one was 13 February 2022. C, Declaration of Recommitment to Cessation of Hostilities Agreement and the Rome Resolution, March 8, 2021, Naivasha, Kenya. D, Rome Initiative for Political Dialogue in South Sudan, Declaration of Principles, 10th March 2022. A, Agenda for Rome Initiative agreed with Pagan and Malong Soma in September 2021. The NSSSOG must stop ambushes, adhere to the call by African Union to silence the guns, and demonstrate full commitment to peaceful settlement of the conflict in our country. It is for this lack of respect for Rome peace process from the NSSSOG that the government has decided to suspend its participation in the Rome peace talks until further notice. 2, encourage the presidency to deploy all graduated unified forces to hotspots across the country and complete the training, graduation, and deployment of remaining unified forces. 3, deploy the graduated unified forces to the border areas of Bira, Nadapal, Ngwamoromo, Kajukeji, and other areas encroached on by neighboring countries. 4, presidency to recommend formation of a committee on small arms and light weapons to be passed into law. Before passing it, must be subjected to public opinion and consultations, and thereafter disseminate information before the mobilization of arms and light weapons from civilian hands. 5, initiate law to regulate possessions of arms by non-military people. 6, expedite the implementation of the DDR process. 7, reform and train security forces to address security issues. 8, concern public authorities to punish men in uniform found participating in communal conflicts. 9, encourage government of South Sudan to engage government of Sudan in order to upgrade UNESFA mission to a full UN mission in Abyei area. 10, the presidency to expedite settlement of the final status of Abyei area. 11, urge Council of States to demarcate border boundary between land of Ngok Dinka and land of the Twitch community as per 1st January 1956 border. 12, the Council of States to enhance peaceful settlement of inter and intra-states and or administrative areas boundaries. 13, resolve the fighting among armed groups and targeted killings in Upper Nile. 14, implement presidential order for cattle to move from central and eastern Equatoria back to their areas of origin in Jongole and elsewhere for peace to prevail and for farmers to work their fields in peace. 15, Ministry of Peace Building to conduct awareness on peace and address intercommunal violence and child abductions. 16, national government to fund peace building activities in order to cement the already achieved peace in the country. 17, engage peace partners to continue funding peace activities. 18, facilitates peace builders to create awareness on other access. 19, empower courts to quickly address the issue of communal violence. And 20, encourage states and administrative areas to protect humanitarian actors when performing or executing humanitarian interventions. On the theme of governments under recommendations, 21, conduct population census and all elections are scheduled. 22, MPs and officials to regularly visit their constituencies to oversee activities. 23, national government to engage neighboring countries to reduce disputes over borders. 24, establish boundary commission instead of committee. 25, formulate laws to uphold moral conduct of officials while executing duties. 26, create jobs for young graduates through industrialization and boosting private sector activities. 27, amend Emolument Act 2010 to solve the current salaries issues. 28, urge Ministry of Finance and Planning to pay salaries on time. 29, recommit ourselves to the implementation of the remaining resolutions and recommendations of the 5th Governors Forum. 30, empower youth and women for self-reliance through activation of Youth Enterprise Fund. 31, initiate the relocation of herders from Jongole from Eastern Equatoria and Central Equatoria by January 2023. 32, registration of all political parties in the country in accordance with the Political Parties Act. 33, restructure and reconstitute National Elections Commission, Land Commission, Human Rights Commission, and others. And 34, ban the establishment of traditional courts by chiefs from other areas in the national capital. Town bench courts to accommodate in their membership chiefs of other communities. Economics, urge Ministry of Finance and Planning and Bank of South Sudan to expedite public financial management reforms. 36, urge Ministry of Finance and Planning to review budget ceiling in consultation with spending agencies. 37, urge National Ministry of Finance and Planning to conform with the international best practices in budget execution. '38, unify salary structures for all civil servants in the country. 39, strengthen public financial management capacity at national and subnational levels to improve disbursement, utilization, accountability, and tracking of resources. 40, economics cluster institutions should comply with set laws to combat the mismanagement of resources. 41, implement single treasury account for the Ministry of Finance and Planning to minimize the misappropriation of public funds. 42, bring down the rate of inflation through implementation of appropriate fiscal and monetary policies. 43, national revenue authorities should visit states and stroke administrative areas and agree on taxes. 44, National Revenue Authority to increase taxes levied on luxury and potentially harmful goods imported into the country. 45, regulate commodity prices to reduce poverty among the population. 46, promote interstates and administrative areas trade. 47, encourage bottom-up budget process from the states and administrative areas. 48, formulate laws to regulate performance of budget allocated monthly to spending agencies. 49, report regularly to the public on revenues from both oil and non-oil sources. 50, Ministry of Finance and Planning to prepare supplementary budget to meet payment of state MPs and other constitutional post holders appointed as per ARA access. 51, train finance staff of states and administrative areas on effective and efficient resource mobilization and management. 52, national and state government to set up public agricultural farms or schemes to revive Aware Rice Scheme and other old schemes. 53, include a beer area in projects implemented by the National Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. 54, improve distribution of agricultural inputs and development of knowledge and skills of farmers. 55, rehabilitate farmer research centers to enhance agricultural research programs. 56, transform agriculture through cooperative enterprises. 57, provide loans to bona fide or verified business persons. Okay, I'm almost done. 58, hold ongoing deforestation and promote tree planting across the country. 56, encourage transparent renegotiation of agreement of oil and related economic matters with Sudan, especially the Transitional Financial Assistance, TFA, which ended in February 2023. 60, encourage the participation of oil and gas stakeholders, especially the civil society on oil revenue governance. And 56, construct a pipeline to Lamu to increase oil production. Last theme is basic services under the recommendations. 61, provide basic services to lessen grievances and conflicts among population. 62, mainstream disaster risk reduction in sectoral development plans and programs. 63, build dams, canals, and dikes. Clear and clean waterways, and undertake other appropriate measures to control and mitigate impacts of flood. 64, clear and clean the weeds blocking the flow of water in the Nam River and its tributaries to reduce flood intensity. 65, set up special funds for emergencies and disaster responses and allocate them to affected states and administrative areas. 66, provide relief to states and administrative areas affected by hunger. 67, initiate disaster responses and resilience in floods affected communities. 68, hire experts with knowledge of climate change to help in averting floods. 69, increase the annual budgets of the Ministry of Health to procure essential items to save lives and reduce suffering. 70, improve the environments of schools to realize quality education. 71, provide 10% of oil revenues for the construction of universities, secondary and primary schools. 72, provide more funds for development of vocational training centers in all states and administrative areas. 73, education ministry should be guided by a definite calendar year. 74, dissolve and reconstitute primary and secondary school examination councils in order to avoid leakages of exams. 75, provide educational scholarships to all states. 76, provide student support funds. 77, review implementation of the current curricula to ascertain whether it meets the interests of the nation. 78, recruit qualified teachers both at primary and secondary levels. 79, improve drinking water system and sanitation in the country. 80, increase grants allocated to counties municipalities, and town councils. Improve road and transportation networks across the country. 82, encourage the mobile networks operators to install networks to remote villages at the borders. 83, national government to review the aviation law to avoid issuing of licenses by aviation authority to all aviation companies. 84, strengthen customary law courts to provide effective justice. 85, construct police, prisons, public prosecution, attorney and judicial offices in counties. 86, establish county police to support police in enforcing law. 87, ensure all citizens have equal opportunities to secure plots in Juba. 88, construct Fuller Rapids Fall Dam to generate energy. And lastly, 89, the nation needs to support the Ramshell project. So these are the resolutions and recommendations, but they're work in progress. So if you need to change anything, please you come to the Secretariat and continue working on it. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Yes, any comments? Yes, Minister of Livestock and Fisheries.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the First Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar. I have some observation. In preamble, he talks about the governance forces, civil societies, and NGOs, because this is where everybody was participating instead of the governance bus. Another issue which I would like to get, I think there was a recommendation which is left to you, that the name of the governance forum should be changed to governance forum. And this is what we have to decide over. So I think it should be there also. Then I have another one which is connected with the recommendations which I have put forward. That is, creation corridors and livestock movement routes must be identified and mapped, taking into account the needs and aspiration of both herders and farmers. There is a need to demonstrate the IGAT. I think this one can be left out. This is the one which I would like to put. Then another one which I would like to put also, Your Excellency, is connected with the government must establish an anti-stock theft unit within South Sudan National Police Service. Then another one which I would like to put also, which I think is very important, develop projects towards transformation and commercialization of the livestock sector, including the introduction of cross-breeding programs and livestock identification and traceability marks. So with these few remarks, Your Excellency, I want also to say, he said, cleaning of River Nam, but I think it is clean and cleaning all other rivers, because there are some other rivers like the Nile now, maybe there are some boats which have been sunk. And you have it now also, Your Excellency, the steamer cannot reach Juba because there is sand here. In those years, you remember, we used to travel from Kosti, Malakal, up to Juba here. But at the present moment, the steamers cannot reach Juba. So the clearance should include not River Nam only, but all the rivers. And even going towards the east, the steamer used to go from Malakal, Nasser, up to Akobo. These also need to be cleaned so that the movement of the steamers can be revised. Thank you, Your Excellency. These are some few remarks I would like.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency.
لا انتظر شوية في governor هنا. يدك ما yadda ma kanta will ta governor.
I only have few observations, Your Excellency. 35, it reads, all type of investment concession are to be allocated by the national government. Your Excellency, this is again encroaching some of the powers of the states. At the state, we have the Minister of Investment, which was appointed, designated by this government of the national unity. We also have here 37. And also this, from 35, 36, 37 to 38, there is a problem there. Another one, Your Excellency, is in the recommendation of peace and security. I want the committee, the secretary, to include a Lemi triangle there in each of the borders. The other one is the issue of the salary. I think we are talking about the salary or emolument for all, both the constitutional and the civil servant. We should include political constitutional post holders also, instead of the civil servant alone. Your Excellency, there is something put here. I don't know where this came about. And it is 16. It reads, the states and administrative areas leadership should tolerate constructive criticisms and respect freedom of expression. I don't know. Does this is only happening at the state and administrative areas? And how did it even came about? And if it is so, my letter said, all those in opposition, leadership, should accept and respect. Why is it particularly only the state? And I think it is also happening at the national here. The other one is 22, about the issue of the counties. Are we opening this? Because if you put this as a recommendations, you will hear tomorrow so many papers complain coming. So let us be careful whether we are opening. And if you are opening the counties, you must also open the state then also. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I agree with the Honorable Onyoti on the preamble that it should be worded in a way that it can reflect the participation of other parties rather than governors. So this need to be taken into consideration. Your Excellency, the recommendation 10, it seems we are concerned about rights and powers in one part, and also we are not concerned about them in the other part. This, for it will enforce the the going back of the IDPs should be voluntarily, instead of saying that take them to their area of origin. I think we need to consider constitutional rights of these citizens, are citizens of South Sudan, and we must give them a choice of saying they should be taken to the areas of their choice instead of forced repatriation. That is against the Constitution. What I agree with the Honorable Luis in the issue of recommendation 37. The Ministry of Investment doesn't allocate concession. That is not our mandate, but it is a mandate of national government. You talk about 35, which is a constitutional right of the national government. States, they cannot give a national concessions. If, for example, if it is something concerning with mining, it is the Minister of Mining to give the concession. If it is related to the petroleum, it is the Ministry of Petroleum to do it. This is what we mean, that the concession that are supposed to be given by the national government. But the recommendation that said the Minister of Investment should give the concession should be deleted. That is not our mandate. Thank you very much.
شكرا نائب الرئيس الأول. أنا في basic service number 62 build dams, canals, and dikes, clear, clean waterways. One word here, if it can be dropped, Bukun Quez, Canal Lelo Sibu, Bukun Quez is a huge project, and it's sure sensitive. Shukran.
It's not necessarily Jungle Canal. The canals were. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency, and for giving me the chance. Yes, I have a few comments. In the first speech, the preamble, it said congratulating the other parties. I would take the other, because the parties to agreement. Sir? Okay. I think there was an issue of organizing action fee تعديلات باين في the copy that was with Dr. Leben. So the numbers were mixed up for us. But in number 8, we will organize and deploy the unified necessary forces, or is it the necessary unified forces? In number 10, also conduct trauma healing and psychosocial support training, including training of payam, boomers, and cattle camps.
Are we having the same copy?
Communities. I think we have a different copy.
Okay, I have also that copy. What did you say?
Number 10 of the resolutions under peace and security. In the state of camp committees, Mushgal camp communities, cattle camp communities.
If you come Tamania,
Ashera.
Ashera national government, the fund.
No, Ashera. Oh, no. Ashera resolutions on peace and security, and it's number 10 here in my page.
Number 10 in that.
Conduct trauma healing.
Trauma healing. Okay, this is the right.
It's communities.
Conduct trauma healing and psychosocial support training, including training of payams, boomers, and cattle camps.
Communities.
Cattle camps.
committees, or communities.
There are the committees.
Our committees.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Payam committees, Boomer committees, cattle camps committees.
Mm.
But I think communities is more comprehensive. The committees will be there. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The governance, number 18 is a bit confusing. I'll amend all provisions of laws that contradict the constitution, including those dealing with powers of national and subnational governments to levy and collect taxes. So I think the peace agreement is superior to the constitution. So it's a bit confusing here.
Which one?
And it's number 18 for governance, well, 19, I believe.
18.
Amend all provisions.
Governments of states and administrative areas and communities.
No, Al-Gablu bas.
Al-Gablu.
Amend.
Amend all provisions of law that contradict the constitution, including those dealing with powers of national and subnational governments to levy and collect taxes. It can be reworded properly, better than this.
Yeah, shall might give confusion. Okay.
Can be reworded.
Okay. I have one observation. No, the governance deputy recommendations. Number 28, and here it talks about recommit ourselves to the implementation of the remaining resolutions and recommendations of the Fifth Governors Forum. I have just one information observation with regard to the map of South Sudan. Last year we used the map online. I was criticized a lot, and I see most of the presentations today are using the wrong map.
Correct.
So we have to correct that. When nobody talked about anything about it. So you see, that one needs to be corrected.
It was done while we were absent.
Oh, you really?
Some lashing was done.
Oh. I want to add the governance. No, it is basic services recommendations. And I dare to add to enact a bill to end gender-based violence through the Ministry of Gender in the states and administrative areas.
Enact
a bill to end gender-based violence.
to end gender-based violence.
Ministry of Gender to be supported in doing that.
Shagal forward.
Shagal for you? Okay.
But put it.
Okay, yeah, we put it. I'm sorry, I have a lot of things. Recommendations, peace and security. In number 19, we will encourage states and administrative areas to protect humanitarian actors when performing or executing humanitarian interventions. Instead of encourage, I would like to say require or a different language so that they do it. But if you say encourage, some states will not be encouraged. And humanitarian actors will still be harassed. So I would say require states to do that in the state of encourage.
Okay.
I think that's it for me. Okay. I just have a few editing and I will give my page to the secretary. Thank you.
Yes, Ruwen.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Excellency, the first Vice President. On recommendations, I think we did also to indicate the issue of responsibility and time frame. So that if we are talking of the unified salaries, we should indicate who will be responsible for that and who, at what time, then we will be able to tell what was done on this. I think that should be.
It's the national government. It is at the governance, at the economic cluster.
Yes, we need to know that. Otherwise,
We'll say
the cartoon of Adija might be true. You will be carrying all this resolution to the archive,
Yeah.
and then we come back. On the deployment of the forces, I need also you to include Panakwaj and Jau. These are the borders, and we know these are open the corridors. On number 4, there is a recommendation, President to recommend formation of a committee on small arms and light weapons. I think all of us, we are aware we have the Bureau of Small Arms Control in the country.
yes.
And also this is also, we also citing the issue of passing the law, but we also have the South Sudan Firearms Act of 2016. I think maybe if it is a question of review is what we can also include. Maybe it is a review.
It's which one?
Number 4.
Number 4. Review number 4.
We have this.
Number 4, I have pay security forces adequate salaries and incentives. Let me see the other one.
I have presidency to recommend formation of a committee on a small arms and light weapons.
In the Kina,
Yes, recommendation, peace and security.
I don't have it.
We have different versions.
It's not there.
Number 10, to the land of the Twitch community as per 1st January 1956. I also need.
What number is that?
It's number 11.
My number 11 is empowered to.
It's also number 10 here in this paper.
Encourage and say.
It's number 10. Page 6.
Page 6?
Yes.
Oh, say page
Under
6.
peace and security.
Okay.
Between ruin and unity. You have asked a question.
Presidency to recommend formation of a committee on the small arms and light to be passed into law. There is firearms, small arms
Yeah, that was number 3. Number
control.
4.
There is a law already.
Then the Council of
President-
the State to demarcate boundary between land of the Ngok Dinka and Twitch community as per 1st
That's-
January 1956.
That's 11.
Yes, that is 11.
Mm-hmm.
I need ruin and unity to be included in that.
Ruang and unity.
And that's what I highlighted yesterday, which Governor Bantuil also highlighted, and you have seen where I said, as
Okay.
we are in this hall, there is that
Taken.
kind of occupation.
Taken.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sheikh Juma. One
Thank you
will
very
have
much.
to use papers also. Write your comments on a paper. That will help us.
Thank you very much, First Vice President. Page 2, peace and security, number 12.
Page 2.
Peace and security, number 12.
Okay.
It was empower traditional authorities as an agent of change
In the recommendations or
community.
in the resolutions?
in the resolutions.
Page
Page
Okay.
2.
number 12. Continue the
number
whole
12.
peace dialogues.
Yes, I want it to be right that empower religious leaders and traditional authorities. Empower religious leaders and traditional authorities.
Empower traditional leaders.
Religious leaders and traditional authorities.
Okay, religious leaders first.
Yes.
Okay.
Malaysia, Jama. أي زول بيمسك في محل بتاعه.
As agents of change in community.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, yes, BA, Paul.
Mine is just only one point. Congratulations to the Secretariat for the excellent work. Recommendation in page 7. Governance. The last point is 34.
Page 7.
Page 7. The last point, is it 34? By chiefs from other areas in the national capital. Very good. Town bench is called to accommodate in their membership members of other communities, because Your Excellencies, members of town benches are chaired by a chairperson, not by a chief. And others are called members of the town bench, not chiefs of the town bench. So just change the word membership chiefs to members. Thank you.
Yes, Jungule, Governor.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. If you can look on governance on page 3, number 28.
Page 3.
Page 3, number 28 on governance,
Okay.
where it said the states and administrative areas are to form their own pension fund and its schemes in accordance with the relevant constitution provision. The states and administrative area currently are paying pension funds to the national government. And I think there is a pension fund set up at the national. So if we are going to make a U-turn, then it should also add that the national government will have to reimburse the states for all this pension fund that they have been collecting. I think we should add it there.
There will be harmonization. It is administrative.
Okay, then if it's done like that, then it'll be okay. So, but it shouldn't just be left like that, because tomorrow, if somebody go for a retirement, they will be told that, well, go to your states, you'll get your pension there. Why should correct that? Other things on recommendation, peace and security on page 5, number 2. I don't know if it's number 1 on your paper or number 2, where it says deploy the graduated unified forces to the border areas of Bira, Nadapal, Ngongmoromo, Keji. I think you should also add Pagak and Akobo. These are borders, towns that are bordering Ethiopia. And in those places, we have cross-border
Which one is
issues.
that?
Page 5 on recommendation, peace and
Page
security.
5.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 2, where it said deploy graduated unified forces to the border areas.
Page 6. Number 3. Okay.
It said page,
Akobo,
yes. So
Pagak.
we should also add Pagak and Akobo. Pagak in Apernal, Akobo in Jonglei State. So these
Okay.
2 towns should also be added for unified forces to be deployed in those areas.
Then
And then I have also another one on,
and Colorado.
yes.
What do you think? Colorado and Wow. Colorado, Wow. And even the place which is Merenkapi, that is Loele. Okay.
I
go ahead.
have another one on economic, which is on page 8, but is number 57. Number 57,
In the resolutions or recommendations?
recommendation, 57
57.
on economic,
Mm-hmm.
where it said encourage transparent and renegotiation of agreement on oil and related economics matters with Sudan, especially.
It's 59.
It's 58 on our document here.
Okay, the latest is 59. Go ahead, yes.
Okay, so I think we should take out renegotiation because we're not renegotiating the TFA. I think the negotiation has been done already in Naivasha where it was resolved. I think Sudan is they just have to return it back. So I think we should not open up a loophole where we say renegotiation because Sudan will look at it that they can negotiate with us on that, whether to keep it or not. I think we should just take out a renegotiation and replace it by just asking Sudan to return the TFA according to the agreement in Naivasha. Thank you so much.
That is true. Because the agreement on oil and related economic matters is a treaty.
Some
You-
people
You
behind.
don't change it.
That's
Yeah, I
fair.
finished with the governors. Anybody else behind the governors can write what they think. Let me go to the ministers. Yes, Rhodes. Your bosses have spoken, so you write anything you want.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the first Vice President, for the chance. Mine is first of all, we don't have copies to follow up. So I'm putting a resolution.
Just wait. Huh?
Oh.
Just wait. You see. Okay, this is in. What is the page on pension? Which was it? Is in economics recommendations or resolutions? It's 28. Actually, somebody here said the item of pension contributed and claimed to have been kept in the state's accounts need more clarification. Either we, SSPF, are served with the bank statement or transferred to central bank account of SSPDF. The contradiction between the act and the constitution requires review. And this is what we say here, that there will be review. The act will be reviewed. We have over 600 pensioners, especially from the states which have not paid any money, or ones which have now planned to establish their own schemes. Who's going to refund the money used to compensate them for the last 8 years? I said you will harmonize that. That will be harmonized. It's an administrative work. Okay, all the states and administrative areas to form their own pension is not conforming with the Pensions Act. The act will be amended. That's the answer. We have more than 700 pensioners, and most of them come from states which have misused their contributions now. If SSPF stop them, most of them may die or suffer. You'll harmonize. This forum should only allow the harmonization of the Act 2012 and Schedule B of the Constitution. This resolution is going to interrupt the ongoing schemes for vulnerable pensioners. It shouldn't. You just don't want change. It will be harmonized. The act will be amended so that states, those who are employed in the states, their pensions go to the state pension fund. Those who are employed by the national government, their pensions go to the national pension fund. This is it. So that there is no confusion. If you are employed at the state level, you know your pension fund will be at your state. you are employed at the national level, yours will come from the National Pension Fund. That is what the law says. Okay. Now you can come.
Thank you, Your
Minister of-
Excellency, the first Vice President, for the chance. Mine is a resolution which I want to be put across concerning the local material for construction of road. That's the states and administrative area to facilitate the acquisition of local material for construction of roads and right of way.
Mhm.
That is in the resolutions.
They are obstructing the.
There are, for example, a lower level like a county. We had it here, Juba and Terkeka as an example. There are demands which we think they are okay as part of corporate responsibility, but they overstepped and the state, they want direct with the national government. We don't think that is not the right channel. They should raise them to the state and the state will deal with the national government.
You mean the community?
The community demands.
So that they give the Maram
facilitate
gravels.
Yeah. Maram, sand, and even aggregates.
And
Aggregates. So that is one.
So they want to deal with you?
Yeah, they come to us directly.
Instead of going to the states?
To the states. But I thank the Governor Adil for his intervention to resolve. I thank also the other governors for their intervention on this matter in their respective states. Number two.
So you want us to make a resolution?
Yes.
That
the states.
Communities.
I will just direct it to the states. Communities will deal with the states. That's the states and administrative area to facilitate the acquisition of local material for construction of road and right of way. This is how I will coordinate with the. We don't have copies
with the secretariat.
With secretariat.
Okay, the last, secretariat, you know that.
The last, I'm also adding, it is a right forum for us as a national government to declare mobilization of resources, such as the human resource and material resource to fight hunger and achieve food security. Because governors are the one controlling the people and the land. Previously, my generation and your generation, before 83, our veteran politicians who are with us here, Ankola Belalier and Joseph Lago, are a big testimony. When they are sitting in Juba here, they look down what is coming from the districts. So I want us to support the states so that we go for farming, because our partners have been helping us, and I don't think they will continue to do so. I'm saying this, Your Excellency, the government I know, or we used to know, delivered 5 expectations to its people. One is security, which we are doing. Second is health, is school, our education, clean water, and roads. These are the 5 expectations. There is nothing of feeding population. The population are supposed to feed the government like baby, not the other way around, expecting. I know we have 4 generations from 83. They knew only relief. And this mentality, this is the right forum that we should correct it. So I'm calling for the national government to declare mobilization of human resources and material resources to fight hunger and achieve food security. Thank you.
The professor captured the essence of it, mobilization of resources to fight hunger nationwide. Okay, now, before I go this way, let me read some of this. Urge Council of the State to demarcate boundaries between city state Bentiu based on 1st January 1956. This is already taken care of. A recommendation of peace, the deployment of graduated unified forces. The following area borders should be included: Jebel Buma, Rat, Paishala, Fibur. That's all right. Government of South Sudan to introduce use of tear gas for control of criminals. Acknowledge the Council of Ministers. Screen out ghost names from payrolls through electronic payment systems. This is being done. The National Bureau of Standards should be put under the office of the President in order for it to be able to effectively deliver its services. It is under Council of Ministers. So it, huh? Pardon? Yes.
It's not to be attached to any ministry, but they are under the government in general. So I do not know what the act says for this Bureau of Statistics. In the case of the National Audit Chamber, for example, it says you report to the president and to the parliament. Finish. So we all fall under the authority of the president, but without being part of the.
Yeah, I'll check the law on this. The national government should establish a competent laboratory in Numili border to test all food stuff entering the country. I thought you have one. Yeah, the national government to establish the National Bureau of Standard Council. I believe there's either they have a council. Yes. Religious leaders are powered by God. I think it should be financing of the prevalence of the HIV. I think somebody here, they want us to say something about about HIV. Is covered. Okay, that is done. Okay, now, yes, the hands that were here. Madam Bewara.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the Vice President. My name is Amer Manyok Deng, Chairperson of Women's Bloc of South Sudan. In the peace process for the last 9 years, since 2013. So we felt that the chance was not given to us. And I don't know why do you want us to talk outside there? When we are inside here, we are supposed to give out our recommendations. so that they can also help this country. So we request you in the next
You are already
governance
there.
forums.
You are already there talking. Why are
Okay.
you complaining?
Thank you. My complaint is here. We were not given
That
enough
becomes
chance,
bickering.
and we have our recommendations that we need to give it out to you. At least tomorrow we have to give it out. Okay, what I want to say,
It means you are not ready.
I
You have not
believe-
been.
I believe the government of South Sudan is very proud that they have 35% affirmative actions,
True.
which is leading in the country.
Yeah.
And there is a big gap. As we speak now, we have only one governor out of 13 male governors. Why? That one is 7% by itself. It's not 35%. Who is supposed to raise it? Also, you come to the other authorities, the local authorities. You start from commissioners, county Payam administrators, and all this. I believe that one is 0%. So is that one 35%? So this one need to be documented here, that all the governors, at least they have to work on the 35% affirmative action to be implemented. Only 35% is only implemented at top level. And maybe I can appreciate SPLM-IO. They are the only one, the only party who has implemented the 35%.
So
but the other parties, they did not.
it's a matter of parties.
Yes.
You
Secondly,
you talk to your party.
yeah, when it comes, no, we're not, the parties are here in this forum and they have to know that this one is demanded. Secondly, is about, they mentioned the article there, but all of us in South Sudan are sick. And we need at least the documentation of 15% allocated for health. For how long will our MPs and the ministers will be traveling out to this country to go for help? And we are very sick and we cannot get a very good health care in our country. So this thing need to be documented. Secondly, there is a need for the people who have done a good job. For example, the governors. I did not go to Lake State, but people used to hear a lot of things in Lake State. Why should you award those people who have done a good job so that the others also can copy and do the good job in the next forum? For example, and then also Governor Luis Labong and the rest. Why should you award them so that somebody can feel he has done something and others can join in? The other thing is that resolution is too low. You are paying the soldiers $5, which is less than $5 per month.
It is also contained in the resolutions.
Okay, please give them the standard of the region. Pay them a quality payment so that they can live in a dignified manner. We
Good.
have the resolutions, our recommendations, and I urge your podium to accept our resolution to be added there. Because most of the things are written down here, and if I say I want to mention them, maybe you might not have enough time, but accept our recommendations so that they are added there. And not only me, we have also other civil society, little people sectors.
Not how the human. Huh? How can we accept resolutions that we have not discussed here? They have to be discussed here. You in a way you want to, what is the best word to use? But alhamdulillah.
Your Excellency, I want to make some observation on recommendation number 33. It's about banning traditional courts of chiefs from other areas, that is here in Juba. and that the town bench of Juba should accommodate chiefs of other communities. My reservation on this recommendation is that taking the example of Cuba from Bor, those courts deal with issues that are strictly traditional and cultural, usually to do with marriages and child custody. I don't know, and divorce and so on.
Marriages and divorce.
Exactly. I don't know how mixed courts, including people from other communities that are not conversant with the people courts in town benches of Juba town. What is the purpose? I can't understand it. Thank you.
Well, my personal view is that even if we include others in the town benches, it's not going to work, because others may be more than those who usually sit in the town bench. Because you will not have a town bench of 40 people or 50 people. So you will find everybody wants to be represented in their town bench. Then it becomes impractical. That's why I had wanted clarification from the chief administrator of BA who raised it first. And it was echoed by the governor of Central Equatoria and the governor of Eastern Equatoria. I know it's not going to be practical. You don't know there's so many, they solve a lot of problems among their communities. Now, the town bench, more or less, they don't do this cultural law. These are people who are in town, urban, بعربي كمان بكون أحسن. ناس من جذورهم. People who have linked themselves from their roots. So in town bench were created for them. يعني كان للملكية. That's how the town bench came about. But the way I see Juba, we have brought our cultures into it. If we abruptly say, no, you don't, these courts would not work, you'll have a lot of difficulties. The county or the town, but this is how I see what I hear from the people who are handling these cases. For example, the board case which was raised by the Secretary General, the population of the board citizens who came from Jongole is big here. Is big. They want to do their own things using their customary law. We're not fighting customary law. The Constitution recognizes the customary law. So if we go against it, when they come, they will defeat us. This is page 98, Article 167. The institution, status, role of traditional authority according to custom law are recognized under this constitution. Traditional authority shall function in accordance with this constitution, the state constitutions, and the law. The court shall apply custom law subject to this constitution and the law. Role of traditional authority. Legislation of states shall provide for the role of traditional authority as an institution at the local government level on matters affecting local communities. Legislation at the national level and state levels shall provide for the establishment, composition, functions, duties of council for traditional authority leaders. As a national legislation. So if we abruptly take the recommendation that was proposed by the
Thank you, Your Excellency, and the whole protocol is observed. I'm Simon Osdol, the Minister of Local Government and Law Enforcement. I'm interested to answer or two questions. When I allow them the chieftaincy to exercise their roles here, as they come from their state or communities, I don't know who is supervising them here, because there are the issues whereby when they disagree on any certain thing, and they don't be able to solve it from the Juba or the local government in Juba. They do run to the states. While we don't know how they have formed their issues here, and they elect their chieftaincy, who will be solving their local issues. Because now, let us put it very correctly, if they will be under their state, and then they have to be recognized and be scrutinized, and the people of the state have to stand when they want to elect their chieftaincy, because we will be responsible as a state or as a Minister of Local Government and Law Enforcement. There's a lot of mess here. And then when they run there, then we don't be able to give them the good answer, how far, because some of them, they came here, those chiefs, because they missed their chance from there. Then when they run here, and then they made themselves as a chief here. Thus we have a problem actually, Your Excellency. Let us be very, very specific. Who will supervise this local government or the court we have been formed here in the central government? Thank you.
Huh? Yes. When? Yeah. Oh, La Suba. La Suba, the Minister of Federal Affairs. Can you answer whether Juba is national capital or capital of Central Equatoria?
Yeah, Juba is the capital of Central Equatoria, but of course, as a national government, we are hosting Juba. We actually wanted to move to Ramshell, and I think that would be the greatest opportunity because Ramshell will accommodate, and it will be a city that will be able to be having structures of a modern city. So I think it's appropriate. It's appropriate. appropriate that we plan for Ramshell. Although I'm concerned when they say it will take us over 35 years, I think we need it as fast as possible to have that. Having said that, Your Excellency, a voice into saying that I have a little contrary view because I think this forum is correct, is correctly pronounced as a governance forum. What I saw, actually, I went through the program and all that, and actually the previous program. I think the minister and the office, all the ministers, we have actually 35 ministries. They should have been reflected here if we are to have this as a general forum. But I think it is clear because if you see the structure of this meeting, of this forum, is in such a way that there are specific ministries which they actually brought to join to link up with all the governors. So I think it's important that we continue with that because in even other countries, they have governors forum. In federal countries, they have actually governor forum, and then also even commissioners forum. So if you wanted to create something, maybe if people think we need something like governance or to bring everybody together, and then we create another forum that will do that. But I think we should stick to the fact that this is a governance forum. Then we come and then to see how we can collaborate and then cooperate in our activities. That's one. The second thing is about one of the points which the honorable came and talked about the census. I was thinking that we'll have a resolution that says that we need to plan for the census because we have over actually 10 years after the last census that we did. So it is important to have that as a resolution that we need to have a census to prepare for us to get to the elections.
It is in the resolution.
Okay. Unfortunately, they didn't give us the resolution. We were just passing through that action. Yeah.
Okay.
If it is there, and then that's fine. The other point is about a comment I wanted to say is about these resolutions. I really wanted to underscore this point that these resolutions, we had this 5th governance forum, and the resolutions are very important. But during our discussions, some of these resolutions, we didn't go through to check whether they are accomplished or not. And indeed, there's a concern, if you see that the caricature, Jabukan Awalda, you'll see that we are actually solving all these resolutions and all that. So my concern is that whether we are going to solve also these resolutions and then come again next year and then have other resolutions and all that. My recommendation is that we need to have measurable resolutions and recommendations that can be measured and then that can be achieved within a certain period of time, other than having a vague, long resolutions that cannot be achieved and all that. And this, I want to tie with one of the resolutions, which was earlier actually pronounced in the 5th Governance Forum, and in here also it's very critical, and I raised that, particularly about increase of the size of allocations to the states and administrative areas in terms of money, because one critical concern we know about the states, they have huge responsibilities, and they have people have raised the issue about capacities, that they have serious problem of capacities, but you cannot address the issue of capacity without resources. So I think it is important that we must increase, but not only increasing by saying that we have to increase those resources, but we need to attach specific number of percentage that we know that the national government gives this percentage to the states, so that the states can be able to address the challenges that they have in. Otherwise, we have these issues of insecurity and a lot of things. The other final point is about one of the resolutions in the 5th Governance Forum, which called for the governors and chief administrative areas to adhere to the power sharing ratio as per the agreement in allocating constitutional positions, including municipalities and counties. This is very critical because I think some of the, we didn't hear that. Of course, I know some of the states have done that, at least to a certain level. But then the administrative areas like Abyei and then Ruweng and then Pibor, we didn't hear whether they have done, where they have really tried to adhere to this resolution, because we have had concerns that some of these areas, and particularly the administrative areas, did not adhere to that. And that is not good, because we are talking about bringing everybody on board. And these are your own people from your own state if you don't include them in the government. And then there's definitely going to be a problem. So it is very important that we take into consideration this, because another point I wanted to say in general is that
This is in the Peace Governors Forum.
yes,
Mushkila?
yeah, exactly.
It's
So it
in the
has
Peace Governors Forum.
exactly, that's resolution number 10. Finally, I just want to say that, you know, political opponents are not enemies. And people have to get that clear. Political opponents are not enemies. It's just like when you're going to the football pitch. It's an instrument of checks and balances, whereby if you're not going well, someone will say, no, what you're doing is not correct. And people get that correct. So I think it's important to get into that culture. And I was very happy with the Vice President of the Republic when he was saying, when he raised the concern that we need to work together as people of South Sudan. And that's the point I wanted to bring, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Yes. Give to the Minister of Presidential Affairs. Anybody who has resisted to write to me their issue, Allah mark. Mana, you are not. You're not going to speak. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. First Vice President. Thank you, Vice President Hussein Abdulwagi. Thank you for this. Actually share what the Governors Forum is all about. This is Governors Forum strictly for governors and the 3 administrative areas. They are called here and strictly invited by the President of the Republic to come. And the President of the Republic has also the option. Decisions of the governors. What we're saying, when the governors come here, there will be specific national ministers whose activities are relevant and whose actions are related and can be coordinated and assist the functions of the governors, and governors having some concerns in those areas. Not all the ministers, Lasuba said, are here, or not all national ministers. Secondly, which are related to the state. So the governors will have a chance in this forum, at least to raise issues which these people can hear, their advice, they will hear, what needed to be done in the states will be here. So that is necessary. Civil societies are invited. Also, it is an invitation of the president. It's not from the governors, because there are problems of civil society organizations, even in the states. There are issues of that they may raise that the governors will be interested to listen to. So really, you cannot change this name. It's strictly theirs. It is a show for the governors. All of us here are invited because we have something which will touch them. And so when we raise that, they will also give their advice, give their reaction, and then get a solution. That's why when we say the participants of the 6 Governors Forum, namely the governors of the 10 states and chief administrators, they sit and these are the owners of this forum. And the other, and we said, we put it here very vaguely, the other delegates or parties. This is open. It gives chance to us in the Ministry of Presidential Affairs to invite other people who will think will be helpful to the presence of governors in one place on the same days, because you will not get them collected like this as they are. So we bring religious leaders, not just only to pray for us, because they have also problems in this state. So really, I think the issue of preamble, Mr. First Vice President, is appropriate. And if you want to create other forums which will include governors and others, you create that forum of yours. But this forum is strictly for governors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me say I agree with him in the sense the Americans created the word president. But before that, it was governor general. So our president is governor general also. So the governor general and the governors, that's their forum. I hope I made myself understood. It's simple as that. Okay, let me read some of National Ministry of Roads and Bridges to coordinate in improving roads and transportation networks. He said that. UNFO to provide vegetable kits for dry season and seeds for main season to the floods affected population. 2 partners to provide mosquito nets, plastic sheets to the floods victims. Ban of, if you want to capture that, you can, but I don't think there is difficulty because that's why they are here, UN FAO. Ban of, well, he says toxicated alcoholic drinks that are affecting youth, young, that we regulate alcohol. The preamble is good. It is a governance forum. I don't see need to include ministers and civil society plus others. Creation of more counties should be taken out from the resolution and recommendation at the movement to avoid problems that are creation of more counties out. The time is not yet. Let's do the constitution first. Empower lawmaker to exercise their oversight rules by budget separation. They know their work. Establishment of South Sudan quality control control to flight is it to fight counterfeit medicine? Yeah, we already have that institution. Urge President to graphic. So we recommend that anybody needs land should follow legal procedures on land acquisition. I think it was in Governors Forum 5. Yeah. The resolution recommendation on creating of the border forces. No, counties after we do the constitution, the permanent constitution. The states and 3 administrative areas to be given unified land to ease the correspondence between the national government ministry. What does that mean? To be given a unified land to ease the correspondence between the national government ministries. You mean coordination offices? You already have coordinating offices. You rent there. Excellency, First Vice President, there is no either resolution or recommendation talked about media across the country. In the previous governors forum, there was a recommendation which says SSB should allocate space for state activities, but the recommendation to the case of Western Equatoria is not implemented. We did that in the previous one. There is need for recommendation to give freedom of press to the journalists to perform their duties. We even talked about open space, political space, and civic space, which in Governors Forum number 5. Did we not say that last time? I think it's there. If I'm wrong, this is what he was saying, political and civic space to everybody. And this is what was also being said by Lasuba, support and expansion of media coverage, especially SSBC across the country. He said that during the presentation, monitoring and regulate the social media hate speech to avoid instigation of violence through media. I think this is also in the law and it is in the agreement. Logging in Katari is causing serious deforestation. There is a famous saying, cut one, plant two trees. Is no longer applicable. We need to recommend. Has it not stopped, Luis? The cutting of the lumbering in Katari, has it not stopped? Is the national government doing this? Okay. Then Josephine will have to handle that. I believe this body cannot deploy forces, but deployment of forces should only be left to the SSPDF headquarters rather than this body. It can recommend the body. We urge as the oil states, as the states, communities, government, the National Minister of Finance, to transfer the oil share of 5% directly to the state account every month. I thought they're doing that, is it? 2% for the state, 3% for the counties. This is being done. Oh, I have finished. Okay. Now, let's talk about tomorrow. We will read the resolutions and recommendations. Do we read them now? In the morning. So we come earlier as 8 so that the president can join us at 10. Okay. Then we inform all our colleagues to join us tomorrow at 8. And at 10, the president joins us. What happens to my, Jot did not see it.
Kindly hold on, His Excellency is not yet out of the hall, so Asburu Shoy. Protocol, please, you have to adhere with the protocol.
البروتوكول بقول لحد ما يقوم الزول ولا عندكم بروتوكول تاني؟ ها؟ خلاص فطرتوا؟ Yeah. Okay, you can fall out. بكلام جيش.
Okay, the same time tomorrow, but things will be a bit different because if you don't come earlier, the roads may be blocked and you may be blocked out, especially the honorable governors and the national ministers, the undersecretaries. You also come with your tax tomorrow because in